And to talk about the power of the crowd, we have the CEO and founder of EyeEm, Florian Meissner.
Yo. This is Chris. Where's Chris? I have a clicker. Hope this works. Thank you so much. And thanks again for I think there couldn't have been a better introduction to what we're talking about now, basically. Just a quick one before we start. So how many of you guys, please raise your hand, have an Android phone in their pocket right now? Okay, that's actually a lot. How many of you guys have an iPhone 3 or later devices in your pocket? Okay, how many of you guys have actually taken more than 20 images with any of your phones in the last week? Okay, the ones who didn't raise their hand, what the fuck are you doing? Because anyway, so of those guys who did take more than 20 images in the last week, has any one of you guys published or sold an image of that before? Wow. Any of you guys professional photographers? No. Oh, they're in the back, cool. So to the rest of you, I'm going to explain you why this is going to change in the next couple of months and years. Hello, Bucharest. It's amazing to be here. It's my first time. It's like, first of all, a big thank you. Like Bogdan was visiting our office in Berlin a couple of months ago, and basically, well, told me great things about the city, about the country, about the conference. So I've been very, very surprised, not surprised, but like over-welcomed by the organization and by the setup. It looks amazing. Thanks, guys, for putting up such a great show. Let's start. So I'm Flo. I have to confess something. I'm sick. I spent the last 12 hours basically with fever in my hotel room, so that's why I apologize for my red eyes. I feel like shit. But I'm still going to explain to you, and hopefully I'm not going to fall off the stage, but I'm trying my best here. I'm Flo. So I'm going to talk about three things. Basically give you like a little brief background on why I'm actually doing this, why I'm super excited like Chris about mobile, and why it's going to transform many, if not all, industries in the future. Then we talk a little bit about community and how we started and why I think values in community and basically especially the early days of how you found companies and in your team are so important for your future success. And then last, we talked about media in general and what's happening currently in the media landscape and how communities and the power of the crowd is transforming those. You can follow me on EyeEm. It's Flo, you can see all my crazy images I take. I still have not touched my professional SLR camera in a while. I'm going to tell you why in a sec. You can follow me on Twitter. This is like my weird Twitter handle. It's basically my first and my last name without vocals. It's weird. It's funny anyway. And I love photography. The point is, like, I studied business and photography. That was always my two hearts in my chest that were fighting against each other. I ended up working for one of the largest German consumer goods companies, doing marketing, sales data crunching actually for 14 countries in Central and Eastern Europe actually, based out of Vienna, and I fucking hated it. And basically, what I did is in 2009, I moved to New York to fulfill my life dream, which was becoming a professional photographer. And I joined a photo magazine in Brooklyn and Dumbo, and on the side, I basically got gigs as a photographer. And now someone is calling me. That is unfortunate. Got gigs as a photographer, portraits, event stuff, basically. But the problem is in my second week, actually, in New York, I was riding the subway, and my whole equipment and my cameras and my lights basically got stolen. I basically got mugged on the L train on the way to Brooklyn. If you remember, in 2009, there was nothing out there on the App Store. The App Store was super immature. There were no editing apps, no video apps, nothing like that. And basically, I got my first iPhone 3G back in the day. And you remember, it's a pretty crappy phone. The resolution was bad, but I got hooked. I got basically hooked by this nerd community, and I was part of that back in the day already, of amateur photographers who didn't have enough money to buy a crazy fancy Leica or a Hasselblad camera, but have this mobile device in their pocket. And I was running through New York like crazy, and this is actually like one of my first shots of the New York skyline, and connecting with all sorts of people all around the world. There were people in Japan, in South America, in the US, of course, a couple of them in Europe, and there was this, they were all proud, basically, that they don't need this fancy equipment, but still were able to create beautiful imagery. And what I did, I basically published a book with my stuff. So this is not online anymore. It was really bad. I think my mom didn't even buy it, but it was still fun. And from a friend, I got for my birthday back in 2009 this. I'm a huge Lego fan. The Guggenheim is one of my favorite museums in the world. And he gave me this. And basically, I was so fascinated, I think it was over Christmas then, that I had an idea for a small project. I basically assembled the Lego bricks of this architecture thing of the Guggenheim. And every minute I'd put another piece on it, I photographed the stage of it. And then I put it into a collage. And actually, it looked like this. If the clicker works not anymore, it does. It actually looks like this. So you can see it's like basically like a super crazy, like it took me a couple of hours. Anyway, so then I tweeted it, and within 10 seconds later, the Guggenheim Museum actually retweeted me, and I was exposed to, well, hundreds of thousands of people worldwide within a second. And I'm a nobody in New York who has just like was stupid enough to get mugged in the subway with a stupid cell phone in their pocket. And this actually struck me. And then I thought, and this is the number from like 2010 actually. This is actually at 1 trillion photos that are uploaded to social services a year at the moment. This is 10 times higher than 4 years ago. And there will soon be more photos taken in one single year than ever in photographic history before. So this is ridiculous. But what does it mean? It means like finding the good ones is getting more and more difficult. This is a pretty cool artist from Amsterdam. What he did is he did a pretty funny exercise. He printed all photos uploaded to Flickr on one single day and dumped it into a gallery. And what you see here is quite obvious. It's a mess. What we're creating with all this stuff that we post on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Google+, etc., we're creating a digital oblivion of content. And we're annoying our friends with it, basically. And the real problem, the tough bit, is not how do I share a piece of content, a sound, an image, a video, a text, a tweet, apply a couple of gimmicky filters to it, and basically annoy my friends. It's rather how do I actually find stuff that I'm personally interested in, that you are interested in. Good morning, Colette. And that you're personally interested in, and surface quality images, or quality content that eventually is actually can be monetized. And that is something that fascinated us from the early beginning. And you all know, I mean, it's a beautiful company called Google, and what they did is they solved a very, very simple problem, which was, well, they built a technology to index text. And through that, they were able to, well, invent search and targeting, which made them a multi-billion-dollar company. Pretty impressive. So we think that this is just the beginning, because if we are able to apply this technology through actually finding the quality of content in this digital oblivion out there, this can be even way more powerful than text, because we're for the first time able to index the world's photos. And talk to you a little bit about like what kind of impact this has on the media landscape. So this is Anna Dixon. Anna Dixon is the photo director of the Huffington Post in New York. She's really cool, by the way. If you look at how the Huffington Post looked like back in the day, in 2005 when I started, it was like all text, all headlines. I mean, you probably don't even remember surfing that kind of websites. And how it looks now, it's image first. Why? Because image sells. Images are compelling. Images are catching your attention and your eye. And the way journalists or a publication like the Huffington Post works now is. It used to be they have a journalist with an idea for a story, they brief an image department, the image department basically goes out there, buys images or produces content, and then feeds it back to the journalist and they write an article. And nowadays, actually, it works the other way around, because photographers or photo directors like the Huffington Post come up with great content and then pitch that to their journalist to create stories. This is completely changing. Another example is Lufthansa. It's a pretty boring but very big, famous German brand, but this is how they advertised on their Facebook feeds 2 years ago. It's kind of ridiculous. But what they did is like, I mean, they totally got it as well. And they understand that there is a shift in media and also in brands and marketeers' eyes that we need to tell stories through our customers' eyes. And this doesn't mean that I'm creating stupid, boring visuals that kind of attract click-through rates, but rather be more authentic and have basically content that stands and represents my brand better. And in the end, there's way more use cases out there than 10 years before or 5 years before. Think about from a perspective of a publisher or a brand. You need images for your Facebook page, for your Instagram accounts, for your Pinterest, for everything, for your social channel, for your Twitter accounts, for newsletters, microsites that you're building. Yeah? So the sheer amount of images and demand of images is increasing like crazy. And the thing is, like, where do you find those images? Yeah? And that's a funny bit. I don't know if you've ever, who of you guys actually has ever bought an image themselves anywhere out there? Okay, cool. That's actually a lot of people. Wow, impressive. So the thing is, like, where do you get this kind of content? Yeah? You can't go to Google image search, basically, or Twitter or Instagram, search for stuff and steal it. You don't have the license for this type of content. Well, you could hire a professional photographer and commission him and basically pay a lot of money and have an uncertain outcome. It's probably not scalable for your demands. And the third thing is you can go to the traditional stock sites out there. You'll think about the Shutterstocks of the world, Getty, Photolier, iStock, 123IF, Corbis, etc. It's pretty expensive, and to be honest, it all looks the same. Yeah? And this is how difficult it actually is to buy it. I mean, this is just one example. How many licenses there are. Yeah? From a photographer's perspective, this is like crazy, because I have no idea what actually happens to my image. Yeah? And this is what you get. It all looks the same. And my point is coming back to this trillion images that already are shared out there. There's soon, and this is today, most, if not like, not all, but most of all images being used commercially or editorially will be taken by you guys. Yeah? And not by pro photographers or even semi-pro photographers out there. It's going to be you guys who actually sell images, who actually license images out to publishers and brands worldwide. Yeah? Where would you go? Where do you go? How do you do that? There's no place out there that does that. So EyeEm, just a brief background. So we are a global community and help photographers, a new generation of photographers, you guys, to connect, but also publish and sell your images. Yeah? We are live in 150 countries worldwide, have 21 localized apps out there for iOS and Android, and 7 continents, and have above already more than, this is the last number we actually reported publicly, but more than 10 million photographers out there that are part of EyeEm. And this is actually, 7 continents. I don't know if you can see that. This is actually, I want to introduce you to Linne. Linne is our ambassador in Antarctica. He's actually a Swedish dude, and he actually travels in this thing. He takes beautiful the landscape and nature photography. Definitely an instant follow, if you ask me. And the thing is, you could argue, well, there's social networks out there, like Facebook or whatever. And this new generation of photographers, well, essentially you guys, asked yourself a very, very simple question from a photographer's perspective. What's happening beyond my next like? On Facebook, on Twitter, a favorite, on Instagram. Yeah? And this is exactly what we want to solve. Yeah? We want to take you guys on the hand, give you the tools through apps, through editing, the education to create better images, and eventually a market where you can make money. Yeah? And take your photography to the next level and become a pro. EyeEm is about celebrating real photography, not the birthday cakes of your friends. Yeah? We are in the stage for a new generation of photographers. I want to introduce you to David. David recently won the awards for EyeEm Photographer of the Year. There was a worldwide photo competition that we did, where more than 15,000 photographers submitted over 100,000 images. And David is from Belgium, he's 15, and won that thing against all of them. We flew him in actually with his mom and his sister from Belgium, and the day after he was published in Time magazine and the Huffington Post and many other publications throughout the world. David has a beautiful career in front of him, and that's exactly the kind of stories we want to tell. David is already part of basically being a role model for other community members already. Sharing his knowledge on the platform in his community, making other photographers better with his knowledge. A conference that we organized a couple of weeks ago in Berlin, the next one will be in New York, is basically a festival for photography where we connect thought leaders of a new generation of photographers. And EyeEm is a global community at your fingertips that you should use to connect, learn, get better, but also, well, embrace your creativity to the next level. And for us, the next step is, and you can actually pre-sign up to that on eyeem.com/market, is it's already running, up and running in private beta since a couple of weeks, and we're super excited about the next step there. One thing that I want to tell you about already today is a beautiful partnership that we announced a while ago with Getty Images, actually. So we gave, back in, I think, June, only 5,000 of our photographers, and this is not a lot, access to sell through Getty Images. And Getty Images is the world leader in image distribution, working with the biggest and largest brands in the world. And you could ask, like, I'll give you an example. There's actually Jennifer, she's from Switzerland, and she sold an image 2 weeks ago through our collection at Getty for $2,500, just one image. We paid her, I think, a little bit more than $700 out onto her account a couple of days later. She downloaded the app 3 weeks before that, and now next weekend, she's on a weekend trip with her boyfriend somewhere in Spain. And I think that is crazy, because you don't sell on Getty Images. Like, I'm basically a failed photographer. Like, I never sold an image on Getty before. I just did last month, and I get goosebumps from that. And this is exactly the beginning, because we know that the type of content that you guys produce, that this new generation of photographers produce, is absolutely pitch perfect for commercial use and to work with the biggest and best companies in the world. And another story I want to tell you is, basically, well, we have this tens of millions of images in our community that people can search for and then eventually license out and use. But we also have millions of photographers out there who are active. And what we can do is basically send them out on assignments worldwide to create images for our customers in real time. And I want to give you like a small example that we launched 2 days ago. It's a beautiful cooperation with a brand, Mercedes-Benz, actually. So Mercedes is one of the biggest car manufacturers in the world, and they actually ask our community to create images and how they interpret elegance everywhere. And what that means is, I'll show you in a sec. So in our app, you will see a tab, which we call missions. And EyeEm mission is basically a list of assignments for you as a photographer where you can go to and do stuff. Getty Images is something where you can actually sell. You can publish on the Huffington Post. You can work with Uber to get free rides, stuff like that. And Mercedes-Benz is actually asking you, and this is how it is, to showcase what elegance means to you. And in return, they have a pretty big Facebook community of 17 million Facebook fans. I think the day they published that, I think they had within a couple of hours over 28,000 or 27,000 likes on this post, where they announced the partnership. I think now it's over already 40,000 or something. You can check it out. But they offer you, in return, if you're part of that and you win that, to be a featured photographer in all their social channels, and basically they showcase your work. And for you as a photographer, as someone who's never published an image before, this is an amazing opportunity. And eventually, like, that results into other gigs or more opportunities. And it's just an example of the images that we are getting in there. It's really beautiful stuff. And yet again, this is not pro photography. This is stuff that is created on an iPhone or an Android phone or whatever. Another example we've done with Uber together, just a small example. We've had a couple of really, really beautiful brands that already work with us in this regard. And what I want to say with that is, like, this industry in mobile it's not about mobile photography, and this is what Chris mentioned earlier. It's about access. It's about access to millions of photographers worldwide within a second, within a push notification. And you remember the slide of basically like hiring a photographer, commissioned photography. Why would you? Why would I need to send a photographer to Australia when I have a community there who can create content in real time. So I don't have that much time left, but my point here is in the last couple of years, there's some beautiful communities or beautiful platforms like the Facebooks of the world who did a fantastic job for photography because they took it from 0 to 1. They told a lot of people out there, hey, you have filters, now you can be a photographer, you can basically create beautiful images and share it with your friends. Yeah? But what fascinates me, and this is like what I want to do for the next 10 years, is I want to take those guys, I want to take you guys from 1 to 100. Yeah? And enable you to understand that you have all the creativity and the tools and the distribution you need to become a pro photographer. Yeah, well, last but not least, I want to invite you to, we've just launched that, so our awards, photography awards that we've just done, is actually going on a world tour where we showcase the winning photographs like David's in beautiful exhibitions throughout the world. Last week that started in Berlin and for our office opening in San Francisco, but it's actually going to Tokyo next week, to Art Basel in Miami the week after, and some beautiful cities. You can check out the details on worldtour.iem.com. And I would love to see you at one of those exhibitions. It's a beautiful way to get connected and basically embrace the community at first hand. So thanks again, and hopefully see you soon. And sorry about me being like, whatever. Ciao.
Thank you.
And questions, of course, if you want.
Thank you, Flo. If you wouldn't have said you're sick, we wouldn't have known you did really well. It shows you love your brand.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yo.
There's one.
Hey, my name is Bogdan Popa. So my question is, how do you deal with image quality, since all these are images taken with a phone for print and stuff like that?
Absolutely.
Is that an issue, or how do you treat that?
So what we do is, I mean, if you look at most like photo filter apps, let's put it that way, they really reduce the quality through editing. What we do is we offer all photographers to save original quality uploads in the background, even though they actually edit the image. Because some clients, some publishers actually want to use most of want to use the biggest resolution and even the unedited versions. So it's an issue, but to be honest, like when I started with an iPhone 3G, and now like look at all of our iPhone 6s, I still don't have one, but that won't be an issue anymore in a couple of weeks. We have I'll give you an example. Spiegel is like a political weekly magazine in Germany, so they use our images every week on their print issue, and it's not an issue at all. So. This is a valid question, but I mean, just Moore's law plays into our advantage, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Anyone else? How many users do you have on your platform right now?
Yeah, so the last amount of photographers we announced was actually more than 10 million. I can tell you that we're roughly growing on something between 250 and 500,000 photographers per week at the moment.
You really know your crowd. Like you know Dave, you know users that are actually using your product.
Yes.
How do you keep in touch with 10 million people? Because you have an amazing community. How did you build that community?
Mm-hmm. So again, like when we started, I think the most important thing was you remember when I told you that I published this book, and I basically would go out and actually host photography exhibitions. I think I missed that part. Anyway, so I basically started off with a photography award back in the day. It was in 2010, where we connected with all the photographers through my network in New York and other photographers, and organized an exhibition for the winners in Berlin and New York, and published a book with the winning entries. And in the end, what EyeEm in the beginning was, it wasn't even a product. It wasn't even an app. It was an experience. It was an experience of connecting nerds like me who love what they do, and basically, well, just being sort of a platform, but just in a spiritual way. And I think that, and especially the guys from the early beginning. I mean, I remember there's this guy, Sion Fulana, who's an incredible New York-based Spanish photographer, guys from Australia, like, I have never met these guys for years. And now when I actually go to our exhibitions all over the world, and I meet those guys in person for the first time, and I hug them, and it's like, hey man, I know you like since years, I know everything about you, I know your family, I know all your photos, I love your style, I know your new camera that you just bought a week ago, and that's really the spirit of community. And I think that's when you visit us in Berlin or in San Francisco or New York, this is something which is really special because we always wanted to be like high touch and close. And for me, this is the most beautiful thing in the world, to be close and be part of that community and not like, yeah.
And I think that really makes you successful in like building a community that big, and you really like it. Any more questions? Yes, please.
Florian, hi again.
Hi.
What about pricing of those photos that people are putting on EyeEm?
Yes.
How is the price, if there is an establishment of the price? Who decides on the price? If more people want the same picture? And here I'm also thinking that out of the plus 10 million photographers that you have, it might be in the end, let's say, only few hundreds of thousands that really have good pictures and are able to sell them, and many other millions not having, let's say, skills in taking the right pictures and not selling them.
So
pricing.
To answer the latter question, so Shutterstock has a market cap of $2.6 billion. They made $280 million last year alone. With how many photographers? 60,000. Yeah? So I think we already have way more active, beautiful photographers out there who create way more stunning, beautiful imagery than one of the most successful content providers in the world. So I don't think it's a problem. What I think it's an opportunity, because what we have is different kind of content. What our community members, what our photographers do, they don't go out and say like, hey, let's take an image of a confident business handshake or a Caucasian family. Or like when I see photos of businesswomen in the world, it's just bad. Like what we want to do is help create authentic, great imagery of real people, of real moments in real life. And as said, like where would you go to buy this kind of stuff? From real people. You can't go on Google, you can't go on Twitter, you can't go on Instagram and buy it and steal it. And that's what we want to solve. And the pricing question, I can't talk too much about it. The Getty relationship is something where you, we work very closely with Getty Images together on this small collection, where already more than 100,000 images are selling on their platform. We sold images in already more than 25 countries. The prices of Getty Images you can see on their website. So it's very transparent. The scorecard is downloadable, so you can check that out. And when it comes to our own market, the photographers that we invited to be part of it already are offered deals at the moment. And same is with our photography missions. Everything is an opt-in model. So we never would sell or repurpose content for other photographers without a photographer's consent. It comes back to the community. I mean, this is our most important value: data, privacy, copyrights. Without you, we wouldn't be nowhere. And community is first. And like to finish up, one last important thing is the power of the crowd. We have to slash this because it's not about crowd; it's about community. And crowd unequals community. Because crowd is just masses, and community actually enables each other to take stuff to the next level.
Thank you, Flo.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day.